Hello, I'm Bob Marks, and this is Astrology Now. This is the program for people who want to learn about astrology. Today we're going to continue with our look at sun signs, your sun sign. Now, you know, folks, there's been all too much emphasis placed on those 12 sun signs. Some people think that that's all there is to astrology, but there's a lot more. There's also the moon sign, the Mercury sign, the Venus sign, the Mars sign, the rising sign, and a lot of others besides. And you know, we have to take all of them into account. But because of those so-called horoscope columns in the newspapers and the magazines, everybody has the misconception that that's all there is to astrology. Tell me about my sign. What's going to happen to my sign tomorrow? What other signs do I get along with? You know, folks, common sense alone tells us that you cannot take everyone in the world, put them into 12 boxes, and expect everyone in the same box to behave exactly the same way and to have the same things happen to them. Look at it this way. Right now, somewhere in the world, there has to be at least one member of every sign lying in a hospital in a coma. And those so-called horoscopes in the newspapers and magazines will say something like, oh, today is a good day to get out and mix with friends. It doesn't work that way, folks. Your horoscope is like your fingerprint. Nobody, but nobody else in the world has the exact same horoscope as you unless they're born at exactly the same time and place. That being said, well, we have to start somewhere when we're interpreting a horoscope, and sun signs, well, that's the best place to start. That's one of the best places to start, because that's the alphabet of astrology. Of course, there's more to astrology than just an alphabet, just like there is to a language. Eventually, you have to take that alphabet and put it into words and sentences. And that's what this show is about. Let's take a look at a sample horoscope. The first horoscope we're going to look at is the horoscope of John Kennedy. Now, John Kennedy was a Gemini sun sign. But now, folks, you also have to consider the rising sign. The rising sign is the sign that was rising in the east when you were born, and it shows how you start things. And in Kennedy's case, his sun sign was Gemini, a sign that loves to flit around, do 5 things at once, mainly talk, communicate. Well, he was a published author. And he did move around an awful lot even before he was president. Gemini is also a sign that, well, it always has to be kept interested. And, of course, John Kennedy's affairs are still grist for the mill in the tabloids. His rising sign, though, Libra. That's how you approach the world, and that's frequently what people see when they first look at you. Libra is the sign of beauty, art, charm, the social graces. All Kennedy had to do was get on television facing Richard Nixon, and the contrast just blew Nixon away. He lost the presidency because of those debates with Kennedy, because John Kennedy had Libra rising and he looked good. He always looked great. Notice the great concentration of planets in house number 8 over here. That is the house of sex, and we all know about that with John Kennedy, and it's also the house of death. And, of course, one of the main reasons he's remembered today is because of the way he died. Interestingly enough, at the top of his horoscope, we've got the planet Saturn. You see, that's the symbol for Saturn, the cross over the crescent. Saturn is the planet of duty, obligation. It's also sort of a fate planet right at the top of the chart. And if you have Saturn at the top, it's very good for being a top executive. And you can't get to be any higher than President of the United States, at least not in this country. All in all, quite an interesting chart. It's all in the horoscope, folks. It's all in the horoscope. Now, it may be that it's what we do with what we've got that counts, but we always have to take into account what we've got to begin with. You have to look at the birth horoscope. You see your potentials, and then you can figure out what to do with them. One thing no astrologer can tell you is if the horoscope is being used in a positive or negative way. You know, that's our choice. That's our free will. Let's take a look at the next horoscope. The next horoscope is the horoscope of, oh, Marilyn Monroe. What a coincidence that I had this chart right on after John Kennedy. Marilyn Monroe, also a Gemini sun sign. Now remember, Gemini is a sign that has a tendency to get around. Other famous Geminis include everyone from Henry Kissinger to Joe Namath to, again, it's a sign that likes to get around. It likes variety. If you're married to a Gemini or you're going with a Gemini, be prepared to keep them busy constantly. If you don't, you may be in a little bit of trouble. At any rate, Marilyn Monroe's rising sign was different from John Kennedy's. She had Leo rising. This is the sign of drama and show business. And of course, Marilyn Monroe was a very dramatic person. Well, she was a movie star after all. Again, with that sun in Gemini, here was somebody who needed constant stimulation, constant interaction with people. Shelley Winters told a story about Marilyn Monroe. They used to be roommates when they were both contract players in Hollywood when they were just starting out. One night they just got a little funny. They made lists of people that they would like to make it with. Okay? And one of the first names on Marilyn Monroe's list was Albert Einstein. And Shelley Winters said, "Are you crazy, Marilyn? You know, the man is in his 70s. And he's a world-famous genius, a Nobel Prize winner, and you don't even know him." After Marilyn Monroe's death, Shelley Winters was one of the people who was helping go through her things, and she found a letter from Albert Einstein saying, "Thank you for a wonderful time." Well, you never could tell. At any rate, this is what the sign of Gemini is like. It has to have constant variety. It has to have a lot of action. It's the only sign in the zodiac that can get away with doing two things at once. Sagittarius tries to, but doesn't quite make it. Gemini can be reading a book and talk to you at the same time. People will get frustrated and say, "Listen to me, stop reading the book." And they'll say, "I am listening to you. I'm just reading a book at the same time." Very fast sign. You rely on Gemini when something has to be done very quickly and something requires a lot of communications. Gemini is, of course, the communication sign par excellence.